thing he seems very dishonest about is the environment. And our colleague Alexandre dug up an interview during the leadership contest where he earnestly said that his young daughters asked him all the time what he would do about the environment. I've probably got an awkward conversation now. His answer appears to be, fuck it. Is this anti-Labour in this sort of post-Uxbridge strategy way, or anti-planet? Is it just that, I just wonder how much is sort of political strategy and how much is, like, as Zach Goldsmith suggested, he couldn't care less.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I think it's probably slightly excessive to suggest that Rishi Sunak is burning the planet simply to own the Libs. I think that's quite an extreme, quite an extreme policy position to take.
To own his kids.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But equally, I think you're talking about a gold medal in mental gymnastics if you think that burning more fossil fuels is going to help us reduce climate change and reduce global warming. Yes, I take your point though. It's a wedge issue. As Labour moves further to the right, they're squeezing the Tories, and the Tories obviously they're going to move further away from the centre as a result. So things like North Sea oil and gas or trans rights, actually in a lot of these cases, the Labour Party is squeezing their space on this, and they're having to find points of difference and wedge issues so that voters can see the difference between the two of them.
Anna, just as Rishi Sunak benefited from standing next to Truss or Badenoch, is Braverman's real value to Sunak is that she makes him look nicer? And because she could stand next to anybody, alive or dead, and make them look nicer. So maybe that was the idea, that you just need like a hard nut, and so you just look like you're just like, what can I do? She's just crazy on this stuff.
I think it's not just about the policies, it's about the presentation. The vibes, as we've been talking about, comes back to those optics. So Sunak channels the whole Blairite thing really well. He starts his sentences with "look" and all of that, and he comes across as the reasonable bloke in a suit, the kind of the centrist, even though he's not ideologically. And Braverman's not like that. She's very honest about who she is. She stands up and she says, says it like it is, and all of that. The stuff that the real Tory heartland love, that talking truth to these youngsters who on their avocado and toast and all of that, they absolutely love that. So it makes him look more reasonable next to her in that way, even though, as you say, they share an ideology, they share a view especially about immigration, about how we deal with migrants and small boats. So I don't think it makes him look nicer, but I think it makes him look calm, which is not a useless thing when you're standing general election.
Well, another point people made, I suppose, on this sort of vibes thing, I think maybe this was in the Economist piece, was saying that the fact that he appeared competent, was confused with centrism. Now, you can, of course, be an incompetent centrist.
Of course.
But those two things have got nothing to do with each other.
No, but they have been lumped together in people's minds because of this idea, which I actually am really obsessed with, about pragmatism, because pragmatism is largely lost from politics at the moment. And I'm on a bit of a personal cruise. I get written off as a terrible centrist mum all the time on Twitter. I'm kind of okay with that, because I do think pragmatism's lost, and what we end up with is, often, bluntly, a load of blokes shouting at each other. And he doesn't come across like that, even though he holds exactly the same views as some of the most radical right-wing aggressors on social media and so on. So, yeah, it is confused. They're not the same thing, but there's something about that calmness, that suit wearing, and the look. Look, if we just all sit down and speak a little bit more like we're on Newsnight, maybe we can come to a consensus. That's what he's doing. It works. And that's why he does it, because it works.
Sometimes people go, well, you can't be an authoritarian unless you're doing unless you sound a bit Nuremberg. The authoritarians shout a lot.
Absolutely,
and it's like all an authoritarians
do
is come along and seem quite reasonable, but do the same thing.
But the thing is, it helps Sunak right now that Trump is standing again in the US, and that we've had the whole thing with Bolsonaro in Brazil, because it makes it look like he's so different from them just because of the way he addresses the people.